Hi family, welcome back to BrainFLoTv. If you've never been here before, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, please. Click the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified every time a new video goes up on BrainFLoTv. Sean P. Diddy Combs, Brother Love, Diddy, whatever you want to call him. Diddy, seems like Diddy's release date from prison has now been revealed. And it seems like Diddy is supposed to remain behind bars until at least 2028. This is what the court records now shows. No, before everybody was deliberating and guessing, and experts and lawyers were giving their 2 cents. Some of them were saying, he'll be out by the end of 2026 summer, sometime then. Others are saying he'll be out in 2027. Well, it seems like the courts have calculated and the courts are saying that he will be out by 2028. So, according to reports that were published on Sunday, October 26th, Sean P. Diddy Combs is expected to complete his 50-month sentence on May 8th of 2028. That means May 8th of 2028 to May 9th of 2028, he will be walking out of prison if all goes well, unless something else happens in the meantime. Now, this time frame actually includes time served for the 1 year or 13 months that he had already been held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Federal rules state that Diddy can qualify for what is called supervised release if he also completes specific requirements and at least complete 85% of his sentence. So all that stuff that you're about to talk about in the comment section, those have already been calculated into it. That is how they came up with the May 8, 2028. Honestly, I thought he was going to be able to get out earlier than that. One lawyer had everybody pretty optimistic, thinking, because he said Diddy will be out shopping with us for Black Friday by 2026 Black Friday. And that doesn't seem like that's going to happen now. According to his calculations and him calling himself an expert in this field, we thought he was real with it. Well, the court's got other plans. So those dates, or that date, the May 2028 date that he's supposed to be released, that date was revealed in records on the Federal Bureau of Prisons website. However, the BOP has yet to confirm the information themselves. But if you go look at the Federal Bureau of Prisons website, you will see that that is the date that they're saying that Sean P. Diddy Combs, or Diddy as we know him, will be getting out. The Bad Boy Records founder was sentenced to 4 years and 2 months in prison after he was convicted of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution involving his ex-girlfriends Cassie and Jane. Now, a lot of people are saying he was found guilty of transportation to engage, so Cassie and Jane are going to be able to sue him again for more money. Jane especially, because Cassie already settled a massive lawsuit, which $20 million is the sum that was said, even though it was never confirmed, because I do believe that there is a clause in that that says she cannot confirm to the public if it was 10, 15, or 20 million. Right? But the information allegedly leaked to the public was $20 million. Cassie rode off into the sunset with. Jane, on the other hand, who testified in court that Diddy was, up to the point she was even testifying against him, was still paying all her bills and giving her $10,000 per month as shopping money just to put in her pockets while taking care of all her bills. We also found out that her bills for where she was staying was over $20,000 per month, and he was taking care of all that as well. You know, he was spending a lot of money for these females who were willing to do his bid as far as the freak off stuff goes. And quite honestly, it's not a lot of women that you're going to be able to find who would do anything like that just for small change. I mean, multiple partners in one night just for your satisfaction, crazy work. Anyways, his attorney made several unsuccessful attempts to overturn his conviction before he was sentenced, but of course, Judge Subramanian was not having it. Now, back to the suing part, Jane will not be able to sue Diddy for the simple fact that Diddy was not found guilty of sex trafficking, which she would have been a victim because it was her, Cassie, and another one. And he was not found guilty of that. If he had been found guilty of the sex trafficking and racketeering charges, he would have gotten a whole lot more time in prison, and he would have been on the chopping block, so to speak, where they could have sued him, because then they would have been in court. He would have been convicted of victimizing them. So really, Diddy has no victims. This is a this is a crazy case, because this is a case where the jury says he has no victims. I want y'all to think about that, right? That's the reason why the sex trafficking part, he beat it. He has no victims. So he committed a crime that was victimless, which means the double count that he got convicted of, transportation to engage in prostitution, that simply means that he had willing participants, adults, who came with him while he was transporting them to go engage in prostitution, paying somebody for some intercourse, right? Okay, we might ask, okay, so if they willingly did it with him and it is a crime, how come they are not charged? Well, they struck a deal with the prosecution, which means they would testify on behalf of the prosecution and they would not be subjected to the same charges, so that they could get these charges sealed up against Diddy. Kind of like witnesses. Yes, I was there with him. Yes, we did it together. Yes, we did it. Right? And then the prosecution would use their words and whatever else they could find, put it together and convict him, which they did. So, with that said, they also requested for him to serve his sentence at a low security facility in New Jersey. And for that as well, the judge Arun Subramanian recommended that Diddy remained in New York. Damn. We spoke about this before. We spoke about Judge Subramanian before, coming from that Indian background, and the racism within their culture as far as the caste system goes, and them specifically having something against black people, especially African Americans. Nowhere in this entire trial was this judge ever non-biased. He was super biased from the beginning. He leaned to the prosecution. He gave the prosecution everything they requested at all times. He denied Diddy's attorneys everything they requested at all times. That alone would tell you, damn, right? And so when it came to the end for Diddy to be released on bail, or for him to serve any portion of his sentence at home, I wasn't surprised that the judge kept saying no and no and no. And then they asked him, could Diddy serve his time at a low security facility in New Jersey? Again, he said nope. He will remain in New York. That's not how it works. And as of this report right here, Diddy has still not been assigned to a facility, which means he is still in Brooklyn, still at that particular facility where he's been at the Metropolitan Detention Center. Now, the Metropolitan Detention Center is no joke. If you go back and research the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York, without Diddy in it, you will find that that place has been a place of horror for quite some time, with a lot of protests from the outside about family members and friends lining up with placards on the outside for the conditions that were happening on the inside. We heard recently story about Diddy waking up to find a knife at his neck. We heard another situation about him breaking up fights in there. We heard situation about his life might be in danger. You know what? All that comes with being in prison. That's why it's important to not go to prison. But remember, Diddy said, he takes full responsibility for everything, and he's not blaming anyone for anything. He's not even asking to be forgiven from anybody. he's just going to have to take this one on the chin and try to be a better man. You know what I mean? Which I respect that to the fullest. I'm wrong. It's my fault. I'm ashamed of myself. I should have never allowed myself to get this far down this rabbit hole. I got to pay the consequences. Damn, I disappointed myself. Damn, I disappointed my family. This is messed up. I got to fix this. That's accountability, right? We're not perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. Some people make bigger mistakes than others. The good part is when you are able to actually look at yourself and say, damn, that's me doing that, instead of blaming everybody else. And then you start to make changes to fix it so you never go down that road again. And I think Diddy got that on the wraps right now. Now, this all depends on whether President Donald Trump will pardon Diddy or not, because that is still up in the air. The 55-year-old has reportedly requested a presidential pardon at this time. Donald Trump's office actually confirmed now. He said before, we heard of talks about it, and I heard of people wanting to ask me about it, but no one had officially come forward to ask me about it yet. Well, his office has now confirmed that somebody did come forward to request a presidential pardon. So Trump himself had addressed it. He addressed the request in interviews. TMZ actually reported that the president considered commuting Diddy's sentence against the wishes of several of his staff members. The person said, the president is thinking about it. He has officially been asked. He is thinking about it. However, there are several persons in the White House who are saying, hell no, don't. But, you know, Trump is Trump, and he's going to do what he wants to do regardless. So if he feels like he should, he will. If not, he won't. Honestly, y'all, listening, I take it like this, right? If I was Diddy, I'd do my time and come on out. But I'm not the one that's locked up. And I say it for these reasons right here. If Diddy is pardoned by Trump, he's going to have to be busting it wide open and twerking like Megan Thee Stallion when he get up out of there in order to pay Trump back that debt. He's going to be his bitch. I heard Charlemagne the God say it, and I was offended when he said it, but it's true. He's going to have to be his bitch. He's not going to give you that kind of pardon. So me, I would take that time on the chin, lay down for a minute, do my time, and come on out, head held high, shoulders square, knowing that I owe nobody nothing. But, again, every day in prison is a fucked up day. Every day in prison, because it's prison, man. Every day in prison, especially coming from, it's not like Diddy came from poverty or he came off the block and he left a 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn that got 5 people, 6 people living in it, and they barely making rent every month and whatever. He's not from squalors. He is coming from opulence. He's coming from riches. He's coming from mansion and private jets lifestyle. He's coming from personal chefs and eating a certain kind of way lifestyle. He's coming from being in control of his own schedule lifestyle. So to be locked in, boxed in around people he has no choice but to be around, these aren't people he would normally be around in his regular life. So I'm sure he can't wait to get back to his regular life. Not alone only that, Diddy is a moneymaker. So every day he sits in prison, not able to control the financial side of his business, moving and shaking, moving, making these connections, kind of like playing chess and moving the pieces across the board. Every day he's not able to make a move, to negotiate a deal, to put some more money on the table, is a day that is lost for him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he actually takes a pardon from Donald Trump if one is given. But if one is not given, it's official. On the Federal Bureau of Prisons website, it now says Diddy's release date is May 8th of 2028. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about this one. If you were Sean P. Diddy Combs, would you take that release from the president? Would you take a pardon from the president if he says you could be out tomorrow? Or would you lay down, do your time, and then come out on May 8th of 2028 with your head held high and your shoulders square, knowing you owe nobody nothing? Catch y'all in the comment section. Hit that subscribe button. I'm out. Peace.